Hello, everyone. Before we dive in, be sure to drop your thoughts, feelings, and lessons in the comments below. Like the video and subscribe so you never miss stories like this. Let's get into it. In the beginning, their marriage looked like a promise kept. Neighbors in West Philadelphia admired how Evan carried groceries while Maya balanced keys and laughter. A small duet in an ordinary hallway. They had a second-hand sofa, a crooked wedding photo that made them grin, and a routine that felt like safety. Sunday pancakes, weekday commutes, evening walks along Clark Park when the trees were lit with gold. Money was tight, but they were a team. They touched shoulders in passing like a quiet vow. When the apartment warmed with the smell of cinnamon and coffee, the world felt possible. Evan worked nights at a hospital laundry, sorting linens that knew too much about hurt. Maya managed a front desk at a co-working space on Market Street, where startups bragged about disruption while she reset printers and handed out badges. They laughed about plans they could not yet afford. Niagara in spring, a car that did not cough at stoplights, a couch that did not groan like a tired uncle. They kept a jar labeled someday, filling it with change in folded ones. The label faded with time, but their faith felt permanent, an ink that could not run. The first tremor was small enough to excuse. Maya came home late, bright with a sparkle Evan had not seen in months. An old friend had visited the co-working space, she said. Derek Vaughn. They grew up on the same block. He had become somebody now, a city contractor with connections and a smile that knew its own power. Evan nodded. He wanted to be gracious, not suspicious. She spoke about Derek's advice as if he were a lighthouse. Evan reminded himself that good news could arrive wearing any face, even one from an old yearbook. The second tremor cracked a plate. Maya began talking about opportunity in ways that sounded like permission. Derek knew a manager at a boutique agency who might fast-track her into events work if she showed that she could be flexible. Evan did not like the word. It sounded like bending past your spine. He asked if this was a real offer or a mirage. She smiled with pity he did not deserve. You think too small, she said. That is why we are stuck. He folded a towel, slow, by himself silence. Being careful had kept him safe so far. The third tremor rattled the frame. She took calls in the hallway at midnight, voice lowered to a frequency that promised secrecy. She came home with new perfume and used the word mentorship with a heat that did not belong to learning. When he asked about the late dinners, she described them as strategic. When he said he missed her, she sighed like he was a bill past due. He told himself she was chasing a door in a locked building. He told himself love meant stepping aside. He did not yet press his ear to the door and listen. When the power bill arrived shaped like a threat, Evan offered extra shifts. The laundry supervisor let him trade sleep for overtime. He returned home smelling of bleach and cotton, a ghost of his own life. Maya returned later, carrying leftovers from places they could not afford. You should try this, she said, feeding him a forkful he did not taste. He asked about the job lead. She said Derek thought she could move faster if she committed. The word scraped him raw. Committed to what? He asked. She kissed his forehead, said, let me handle it, and left. He discovered the receipts by accident, tucked between coupons on the counter. 2 tickets to a concert at the Fillmore, a hotel reservation near Rittenhouse Square, a wine bar that wrote the date like a secret. He stood in the kitchen, light too bright, trying not to imagine Maya's laughter landing on someone else's shoulder. When she came home, cheeks flushed with night air, he held the paper like a weak shield. She looked at it calmly, as if he had found a menu. I needed leverage, she said. Derek has leverage. This is how doors open. Words became instruments that hurt. You make everything small, she told him, rolling her eyes. You think love is coupons and casseroles. I want a life I can see from a rooftop. He asked if rooftops required lying. She replied that the world did not pay people who asked permission. She called him fragile and safe in the same sentence, a diagnosis meant to shrink him. He moved a window and watched the bus lumber by, the ad on its side promising a better tomorrow. He had once believed in tomorrow like a neighbor. Tonight, tomorrow looked away. He did not leave. Poverty teaches endurance. He cooked and vacuumed and washed their sheets. careful as a nurse with a fragile patient. He wrote Maya a letter he never gave her, full of memories. The church steps where they kissed after the reception, the thrift store lamp they rescued and named. In the letter, he asked that they choose each other again. He asked that ambition not require betrayal. He folded the paper and slid it under a stack of cookbooks. That night, she texted from across town, "Do not wait up." He did. The ceiling never blinked. The first bruise was not on his skin. It was a yelled sentence that she later called just words. She stood by the sink, phone face down, and told him he was baggage she carried out of pity. She said Derek understood value. She said if Evan had any pride, he would step aside so she could secure the favor properly. He heard the phrase the way a body hears thunder. He asked if properly meant sex. She did not flinch. "Do not be naive," she answered. "Nothing is free." He lowered himself into a chair and learned a new silence. He went to work and lifted canvas bags of laundry like penance. The hum of machines offered a mercy rhythm. He heard beeping monitors from the ICU, a distant metronome for other people's emergencies. He imagined washing the city's shame and laying it flat, free of wrinkles. He drank coffee that tasted like metal and counted backwards from 100 while he folded. When he returned home, Maya was in the shower, singing a song he had never heard her sing, notes too shiny, vowels stretched luxuriously thin. He sat on the edge of the bed and felt old. Friends noticed the temperature change. Evan's brother, Xavier, asked if he was sleeping. At church, Sister Albright squeezed his hand as if she felt the fracture through his coat. He shrugged and said they were navigating a tough season. The pastor preached about vows that are not conditional. He told himself the sermon was not a message from the universe. He told himself he was not a fool. The jar labeled "Someday" still sat on the shelf, fat with hope that had not been spent. He could not bring himself to cash it in for escape. Not yet. Maya's cruelty matured into efficiency. She mocked his overtime, called it chores for a paycheck. She dangled the prospect of her future title, events lead, like a trophy he could not touch. She said, "You will thank me later when the money starts moving." He asked where their marriage fit in that sentence. She laughed and asked why he always needed to be chosen when she was choosing him a better life. The pronoun sounded like a trick. She was choosing Derek's calendar, Derek's dinners, Derek's rooms with views. She was choosing a favor with a cost she minimized. The night she did not return, snow fell like a quiet verdict. Evan heated soup and watched it cool. At 2 a.m, he called once, then twice. She responded at 4. Signal bad. Home later. He stared at the text until dawn blurred the letters. When she walked in, Rosie was asleep that was not theirs. She bypassed apology. "We are close," she said. "He wants proof I can manage an executive environment." Evan thought of the hotel receipt, the wine bar, the concert with those precise time stamps. The word "manage" broke into jagged syllables in his throat. He confronted her without theatrics, his voice low, the kind that makes a room lean in. "Are you sleeping with him?" he asked. She poured coffee with steady hands. "This is not about sex," she said, refusing eye contact. "It is about leverage and partnership and better rooms." He said, "But yes." She exhaled as if he had asked her to run an errand. "If you must name it," she answered, "name it the price of admission." He felt something inside him vacate the premises, a tenant packing in the night. He set his mug down like a final act. Abuse is a climate before it is a storm. She began treating him like a broken appliance, tapping, sighing, predicting failure. She said he embarrassed her with his thrift store tie. She said his hands smelled like bleach and hospital air. She said she should not have married beneath her ambition. He cleaned anyway, wiped counters until they shone with a truth he could control. He texted Xavier, "I think my marriage is bleeding out." Xavier replied, "Come stay with me." Evan looked at the couch, the jar, the photo with the crooked joy. He replied, "Not yet. I need to understand." The favor arrived like a parade, noisy and confident. Maya strutted into the apartment with a lanyard and a badge that displayed her new role, event coordinator, Vaughn Partners. She popped champagne. She did not buy and told him the salary like a challenge. She said, "See? It worked. I told you." He asked whether the job was permanent. She said it would be, after an introductory period where she would remain available for special meetings. He closed his eyes and counted each word as if it were an item on a receipt. Everything had a cost. He had paid most. Karma did not sprint. It tied its shoes carefully. 2 weeks into the role, a city office opened an audit into vendor awards after a journalist story about cozy contracts. Derek's name appeared in the third paragraph, written with a polite suspicion that sharpened each day. Maya dismissed it as noise. She bought a new blazer and posted a photo captioned Levels. Evan scrolled past without liking. At the hospital, he listened to a radio segment explain the audit in precise terms. By the time he returned home, the story had grown teeth. He found Maya pacing, phone blinking. The first consequence was subtle humiliation. An event they had planned at a museum was postponed indefinitely. The inbox that had felt like applause went quiet. Derek texted less. When he did, his messages became curt. Lay low, no comments, do not forward emails. Maya's eyes flicked from arrogance to fear and back again, like a failing fluorescent bulb. She yelled at Evan for leaving a dish in the sink. He washed it while she continued listing his shortcomings. He did not argue. He wondered how many tiny cuts make a person bleed enough to decide the bandage is not worth it. The audit leaked screenshots, calendars, invoices, dinners classified as vendor briefings with price tags that looked like down payments on cars. A photo surfaced of Derek and Maya at Private Lounge. The caption a bland networking cliché. The timestamp overlapped with a hotel receipt Evan had memorized by accident. Commenters noticed the overlap. The agency suspended Maya, pending review. She came home brittle and furious, blamed jealous women at the office, accused Evan of manifesting failure with his small energy. He stood in the doorway and realized he could leave. The idea had once felt like betrayal. Now it felt like breath. He packed deliberately. Work clothes, a few books, the letter he had written months ago. Maya laughed in disbelief, then sharpened. "You are nothing without me," she said. "You will crawl back." He looked at the photo on the wall, their crooked joy, and felt a mercy, not a wound. "No," he said, "I will walk forward." He carried his bag down the stairs and into winter air that stunned him awake. He slept on Xavier's couch, a thin blanket, a rectangle of sky outside the window. He dreamed of clean sheets in rooms where no one spoke to him like a debt. The news churned. Vaughn Partners severed ties with 2 subcontractors. The city referred findings to a prosecutor. Derek reposted an old community photo with a caption about integrity. Comments filled with links to the audit. Maya texted blame and bait, alternating as if spinning a dial. Evan did not respond. He applied for a daytime position in central sterile processing at the hospital and met with a supervisor who appreciated his reliability. A nurse left him a coffee and a note. "Your folding is an art." The compliment landed like a small rescue boat. He floated on it all day. Maya tried a final play for pity. She called from a new number, voice honeyed with performative regret. "You left when I needed you most," she said. "I am drowning." He answered with a calm he did not know he possessed. "You asked me to applaud while you pushed me under," he said. "I am not a lifeguard for a sea you chose." She cursed him, then cried, then hung up. He sat with the silence and noticed it did not accuse him. It smelled like laundry and coffee. It felt like a room where the window opens easily. The prosecutor announced charges against Vaughn Partners, fraud, bribery, a tidy cluster of words that ruin reputations. Derek surrendered with a lawyer at his elbow and a suit that tried too hard. Reporters camped near the courthouse. Maya's name appeared in the filings as employee 2, an unflattering anonymity. Her accounts were frozen pending inquiry into ill-gotten compensation. She discovered that favors spent like currency can be seized like stolen cash. She texted Evan, "I need rent." He stared at the message until it turned into a dot. He wrote back, "Call your partner in integrity." Then he blocked the number. Evan did not celebrate with fireworks. He exhaled like a man who had carried a couch alone up 3 flights. He moved from Xavier's couch into a small studio that smelled of paint and potential. He bought a plant and a lamp that did not buzz. He framed a print of the Schuylkill in fall and hung it straight. He wrote a second letter he did not send, thanking Maya for the good years and forgiving her for the worst month. He forgave himself for mistaking survival for love. He let the plant drink light. He learned to sleep through storms. One Saturday, he wandered into a community poetry reading at a library branch, drawn by a flyer that promised tea and chairs. A woman read a poem about letting go of rope burns. Her name was Camille, an art therapist with a laugh that did not require a stage. They spoke afterward about small rescues. The first morning you wake without dread, the glow of a refrigerator light when you own the groceries. She asked about his work. He described a ritual of sterilizing instruments until they gleamed like second chances. She said that sounded like faith with a job description. Maya's consequences unfolded without his supervision. She lost a job, then the apartment, moved in with a cousin who had questions and boundaries. Former friends avoided her calls. Suddenly busy, their calendars allergic to scandal. She posted vague statuses about betrayal and haters. A blogger connected her directly to a vendor dinner where the invoice described her as a consultant. The comments were unkind but not inaccurate. Evan did not read them after the first week. He recognized that tracking another person's downfall is its own addiction. He chose sobriety from her story, a quiet refusal to keep score. Spring arrived like a pardon. Evan ran in the mornings along the river path, slow laps that measured endurance, not speed. He brought Camille to Clark Park on Saturdays, watched children chase bubbles, bought empanadas from a food truck. He told her about the jar labeled Someday. She smiled and put $3 inside a new jar, unlabeled. Let it be, she said. We will name it when it grows. His chest loosened around a future that did not require performance. He found that he could be generous without auditioning for affection. He found that kindness can be reciprocal. One afternoon, he passed the courthouse steps and saw Derek exiting in a suit that could not disguise fatigue. Cameras asked questions like knives. Maya followed a few paces behind, eyes hollow, the high gloss gone. She saw Evan and paused, as if the universe owed her an audience. He bowed his head slightly, not in deference, but in release. He walked on, the city familiar and forgiving. Karma had not written an operatic finale. It had dispensed a quiet math. Choices added up. Debts came due. What she considered more valuable proved counterfeit. He kept walking, lighter than the winter before. The apartment glowed with late light. Evan cooked pasta, played a jazz record, watered the plant that now grew 2 new leaves. Camille sat at the table with a stack of postcards, writing to friends who needed tenderness. He touched the jar without a label and smiled. He would not rename the past as all darkness. Their early joy had been real. But he honored the present for what it was. A room with air, a window that opened, a table where no one yelled. He served dinner, and they ate slowly grateful. Outside, the city hummed without threat. If you enjoyed this story, please comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.